It's the Brawl in the Family podcast, or as they might say in Dragon Quest,
Brawl in the Family podcast.
Podcast Episode 1. Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first, hopefully first of several, Brawl in the Family podcast episodes. This is Episode 1, where we will talk about Fire Emblem Awakening, and also just try out these little ideas we've got going on here. I'm Matthew Taranto. I'm the artist and writer of the comic, and this is my first podcast besides a couple that I've actually been a guest on. But this is the first one that I've run. So hopefully I don't freeze up and have nothing to say like just now. With me is my good friend and other Brawl in the Family maintenance guy and idea guy sometimes. This is when you come in with your name, Chris.
Yeah, hi, I'm Chris. I help out with some of the Brawl Family website stuff, and I'm here to talk about Fire Emblem and related game things.
All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and just start talking and see where it takes us, and hopefully we'll spew out something mildly entertaining. So let's jump right into it.
All right. Sounds like a plan. So, Matthew, what did you think of Fire Emblem Awakening?
Fire Emblem Awakening. Well, Chris, I'm glad you asked that, because as it turns out, I just beat the game last night.
Yeah?
Just finished it, saw the ending.
Wow.
And a little bit of backstory real quick. Fire Emblem Awakening, of course, is the latest in the series, and some would say the greatest. And what I hear a lot about this game is that it's a really good place for newcomers to the series to jump in. Both because of its quality and because it does a really good job of easing players into the game and supplying a nice way to not feel too overwhelmed. I figured I'm a newcomer to this series basically. The only one I've played in any sort of detail, I guess, is Fire Emblem Sacred Stones, which was an ambassador game from 2 years ago. I mean, it came out on the Game Boy Advance, but they gave it to us for free for the 3DS. Yeah, so I enjoyed that. I didn't beat it. I got about 10 hours in, but I decided to go ahead and give this one a shot. And I'm definitely glad I did because, as it turns out, it's really good. I'm kind of surprised because I think a lot of people are kind of in the same boat as I am, where they find the turn-based strategy genre to be a little bit intimidating. It's kind of an unusual sort of gameplay mechanic. It's kind of like jumping into an RPG for the first time. There's a lot of things that seem sort of strange about it. But I think if anyone really finds themselves kind of not sure if they're going to enjoy this or not, they really should try out the demo that Nintendo put out. They put out a Fire Emblem Awakening demo on the 3DS a few weeks ago that, it's free, of course, and it goes through the game's first couple chapters. And unless you completely hate the demo, it's a good chance you'll enjoy the game. Like I said, it does a really good job of introducing the elements at a gradual pace so that you can really have a good idea of the best way to play. You get introduced to these ideas one by one, and you can apply them in the maps that are designed around them. So it's really not as intimidating as it seems.
Okay, but does the demo introduce you to the fact that whenever you lose one of your soldiers, they disappear from the game entirely?
No, actually, the demo... You see, the Fire Emblem comes in three difficulties. It comes in normal, hard, and lunatic. And in addition... Yeah, lunatic is the name of the third one, which is, from what I hear, it's a very apt name as well, because it's pretty insane. But there's also two modes for each of these difficulties, which are casual and classic. Casual, you basically don't lose your units. You lose them for the battle, but as long as Chrom, who's the hero, basically, or your avatar that you name, as long as they stay alive, you can still win the fight and get your units back at the end of the battle. Classic mode, however, is something that might be kind of intimidating to Fire Emblem newcomers as well, which is the permadeath system. So, for those of you that are not familiar with that, if you lose a character in Fire Emblem, they are dead. Unlike in most games where you can revive them with an item or something, they're kaputski. They're gone. You will never see them again. And this can lead to a lot of heartbreak, a lot of frustration, and a whole lot of resetting.
But at the same time, I think it can add it adds a very interesting level of tension to the battles where you have to really think out every move you're making, because there's that consequence that's going to be related to it. It's not just like in another game, like an RPG, where, you just fight a lot of stuff and you take damage and you keep going. Each fight in Fire Emblem carries the possible consequence of losing one of your characters, which gives you a lot of pause, which I guess it kind of...
it makes you think about every move, basically. Yeah. Like, I've heard people refer to casual mode as you're able to Zerg rush the enemy, which, it's basically like a StarCraft term where you make a bunch of guys and you just push them all, and to heck with the consequences, because you'll eventually win.
Right.
And that is why, even to newcomers, I would definitely recommend you play on classic mode. It is frustrating when you lose a guy like you really want and you have to reset, and it's sad when you lose a guy that you kind of press on without resetting. But I think that adds a really important element to the game. There's on the one hand, like Chris said, you really have to strategize. You have to play as if these guys are your friends and your allies, and you don't want them to die. But in addition to that, you have to the sense of loss that comes with it actually gives the game a nice sense of unscripted sadness, I guess is a good term for it. In that, like in my game, I'm trying to keep this as spoiler free as possible, but basically you can marry any unit basically to several other units is the idea. And you start thinking of these characters as together as husbands and wives and things, and they have kids, and whenever a husband loses his wife after 20 hours of the game, like I did, I had Sumia get shot down by a stray bowman that I forgot about. It was like, it's like, man, I feel a little bit devastated, it's not quite canon, I guess you'd say, because it's your own fault, but it's still something that's like, man, I feel really bad about that. So, and I think that's kind of a nice element to the game that I haven't really experienced in many other games, is that sense of loss from losing characters due to your own mistakes. And in my case, they were many. There were many mistakes and many fallen comrades in battle.
I think it goes beyond just loss, though. When you give the player that sort of consequence behind their actions, it also kind of enhances the reward for success, I think.
Yeah.
Because the stakes are higher, and a lot of games don't really give you any sort of consequence to dying, or you just reset instantly at the nearest checkpoint or something. But I think with a lot of recent games, Fire Emblem has done this forever, which is really interesting because very few games have been kind of imitating that sense of loss until recently. You have the recent PC game XCOM Enemy Unknown. There's the game Dark Souls, and a couple others that they're really unforgiving in the sense that they present a pretty fair situation. I think games are starting to embrace a sense of difficulty that presents the player with a fair challenge, and it's up to the player to make the right choice.
And it's not that it's unfair; it's that it punishes your mistakes to a bigger degree.
Right, more than most other games have been doing. And it's I think for a while, game developers are kind of afraid of putting in many harsh consequences, because that can be kind of off-putting to lose a lot of progress or something in a game.
Right.
But at the same time, if it's done in a way like Fire Emblem does it, it's I think it can enhance the strategic depth of the game and kind of gives an extra sense of importance to your actions.
Yeah, there's kind of a personal touch in Fire Emblem in that the story of your characters is a little different than whoever else. Like, you might lose Vake in the first map you get him in. I had Vake until the second to last chapter, and then he died. So it was like, oh man, But everyone kind of grows an attachment to these characters in Fire Emblem. So that helps with the with kind of that personal element too.
Yeah.
And I think what you were saying about consequences in games kind of can be applied to even other genres like platformers or first-person shooters, like the use of checkpoints and live systems and things.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of ground to cover there, but I probably won't go too much into that because I think we could probably talk about that, with some other games.
Mm-hmm.
But regarding the permadeath, it's a really interesting element, and I don't think I'd want to play the game without it on, even though it's it can be pretty brutal. So for those newcomers to Fire Emblem, I would definitely recommend playing on normal difficulty with classic mode with the permadeath on. It makes for a pretty interesting game. kind of related to that, I'd like to talk about this game's support system and the characterization, which is another motivation for keeping your characters alive. Basically, like I mentioned marriage earlier, but all your units have supports with at least one other unit, and some of them with, up to 20. I think the main character can really marry anyone.
Wow.
If you're the male main character, you can marry any female. If you're the female, you can marry any male. You end up making babies.
And that's kind of a central purpose of the marriage.
Yeah, it's sort of a means to an end, I guess, which I guess is a little bit cynical, but there we have it. I mean, it's also cynical to throw a newborn baby into battle.
Yeah, what's up with that anyway?
Well, it's technically not quite the case. They do explain it in the story, so it's not quite. They just pop out a young, early 20-something adult, but yeah, as far as a gameplay element goes, once you have characters married, you can use their kid, which has inherited skills and things. But regarding the support system, there's 4 levels of support total. There's 3 with most characters, C, B, and A, and then S with your husband or wife. You can only have one S rank, basically. You can't remarry, even if your husband or wife dies.
Right.
What's neat though is that each of these support conversations, pretty much all of them are unique for starters. So you have these characters, kind of their personalities are bouncing off each other, and they're really well written. Like I'm not sure if it was like Nintendo of America's usual Treehouse team that did the localization. It feels a little different somehow. Like, I hate to use the word mature, but it does feel a little grittier and a little it's kind of wry. I guess it has a nice sense of humor to it, and it's a little bit different from what I'm used to seeing with Nintendo. Especially like there's like some profanity, or a pretty good amount of it, which I've never actually seen before in a Nintendo game, really. Unless you count, like, I think the DK rap, something of all things. But I mean, it works well for the game. Each character has their own sort of tone, and like, yeah, even regarding the profanity, there's like one character, Sully, who's pretty rough around the edges, but like other characters are, that's not in their character, to swear.
Right.
So it's not like everyone is just this, everyone has their own tone, their own personality, and it's really fun to see the characters interact. I'm stuttering a lot. I feel that whenever I play this game again, which will actually be very soon, because I want to see all these supports, and well, not all of them. It would take forever. Like, it would literally take 40 plus playthroughs to see every support.
Wow.
Well, I mean, if you think about your main character, they can marry anyone, and there's plenty of characters to marry. But yeah, they have a conversation for each of these levels of support, and they're all really fun to watch, and there's a ton of them. I mean, if you do the math, it's got to be in the quadruple digits probably. So there's really a lot of these conversations, and there's a lot of things to see in this game, and that's why everyone's, going back to everyone's kind of personal experience with Fire Emblem, it kind of will be centric on that. Like, I had Gaius and Pan marry because I really liked them together, so they had this nice little support sequence of events that I really liked. And so I got really attached to them to the point where I kind of don't want to marry them to other people in a second playthrough. You know what I mean? I feel like they're cheating. I mean, Gaius and Pan, they go together. Alyssa and Donald, they go together. But I guess I'll have to. I think I'm gonna try the female main character next time around, and marry her off to the main leader, Crom, and see where that goes.
So so the way these main characters work, the protagonist, the player character,
yeah,
is that character just like that character has a personality? It's not just like a voiceless, faceless,
Yeah,
automaton?
that's kind of an unusual surprise for me. Actually, was the use of my unit, or MU, or Avatar, or Robin, I guess, is the default name. But I called him Bun. But yeah. So Bun, he's actually a surprisingly strong character. He's very central to the story. He's not like Chrono or what's another one? Only Chrono comes to mind right now for some reason. But
Link.
yeah, he's Link. He's not really like Link either. Yeah, he's got dialogue with everyone. He's got and they do a good job with characterizing him to be an enjoyable character. And he's heavily involved in a lot of the story's twists and turns. Yeah, it's a surprisingly centric presence in the game. It's not just someone that you'll be like, I don't really like this guy. He's a likable character, and I got very attached to finding him a wife in particular.
Cool.
and to his kid. I really like this kid.
So the support system, in previous games that basically worked by, in the middle of a combat, you would send the units next to each other and you could activate that support conversation. Does it work the same way in this game? How you basically stand next to them and you can also receive like a combat bonus or something?
It's pretty similar in that case. You either stand units next to each other or you use a new element to the system called pair up. You can do either one. Pair up basically combines two units onto one tile and only one unit attacks and gets attacked. And you can switch them at any time. It's a little similar to the rescue system from earlier games, as to my understanding, but you can do it with any character basically. And that whenever you attack with a character next to you, even at the base level, they help your hit percentage and your accuracy. Your hit percentage and your evasion. So I mean, it's always helpful to pair up units, even if you're not planning to take it to the next level. It's nice because also whenever you hit those milestones C, B, A, and then S, it increased more and more stats when they fight together. So now when I pair up, who did I have? I had Vake and Muriel together because, I don't know, opposites attract. I had the super smart, studious girl with the kind of meathead axe wielder guy, just because it was fun, When I have them together, she'll block for him or she'll attack during his turn sometimes. Like, they have these benefits that get stronger and stronger as their bonds go stronger. So you're really encouraged to build these supports between the characters because not only are they entertaining to watch in the sense of like just seeing them interact in the support systems, but also because from a gameplay perspective, it's a good idea. And it reminds me a little bit of Persona 4 in that way. How you forge ties with other people, you get both the reward and sense of characterization as well as gameplay elements. So pretty nifty. One other note I'd like to make is there's a lot of fun little personal touches you could do in the game. Like you can reclass characters a lot. You can level them up and then class them into their master class, but then you could unclass them into a different class if you want to take them on a different branching path. You can marry them together and they'll pass down, the abilities to their kids. There's a lot of customization. You can even customize their weapons, which I like to do, and I would make a lot of stupid pun names for them. Like when I gave what did I make? I gave Donald his spear, and I named it the Donillator, which was really contrived. There was Vake My Day, there was Stall Order. These are all like really, yeah, man. It's like every time I fight a battle now, it's like a bunch of groaners. It's pretty ridiculous, but it's fun to do because you could just work on. I made Princess's first axe. There's all sorts of things you could do. Making things stronger and naming them, and
so wait, so there's basically a crafting system. How do you create these items?
It's pretty straightforward. It reminds you a little bit of Resident Evil 4, how you would upgrade weapons, but you pick a weapon that you already have, and you can put money into either its strength, its accuracy, or its critical hit rate, and basically the more you spend, the higher it goes, and you can name it. So I use it a good number of times. It's useful when you have like someone that has an E ranking for like an axe or a sword, and you don't want to be stuck with the worst E weapon. You want to take that E weapon and craft it a little bit so they have something a little bit stronger. So, but yeah, it's a pretty neat system. So, I mean, all in all, I've said a lot about this game, and I feel like there's still a lot more to say, but I'm not going to dwell too long on it because I'm hoping I'm getting the point across. It's very, very fun, very good, and I'd have to say an early contender for Game of the Year. So, yeah, balls in your court, EAD Tokyo. See where you can take Mario next, because this is the game to beat for me. I really enjoyed Fire Emblem a lot more than I thought I would.
Well, that's really good to hear. I've enjoyed a few of the previous entries in the series. I really liked Path of Radiance. That was probably my favorite so far. Actually, was Path of Radiance. I haven't played Awakening yet, but
is Path of Radiance the one on the GameCube or the Wii?
That's the GameCube one.
Oh, okay.
The Wii one was Goddess something?
Radiant
Dawn.
That's it.
Yeah, that was it. I haven't played that one. It's a direct continuation of Path of Radiance, though, so I should probably pick it up.
I hear good things about Path of Radiance and the original Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem, which I think is Fire Emblem 7, but it was just called Fire Emblem over here, the one with Lyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first one that was localized.
Okay. Well, cool. I'm starting to get into this series. I might actually go back to Sacred Stones one of these days and finish that, because I enjoyed what I played of that, and now I feel like I know the series a little better. But yeah, solid game. And I remember you recommending this series to me several years ago, and I was like, no, I don't want to play it. I don't want to play turn-based strategy. It's boring. Like chess. It's kind of like chess, but it's cool because like it reminds me a little bit of Paper Mario almost, in that you know what your units are gonna do. Like you can kind of build strategies around that. Like you know this guy's probably gonna kill this guy. You know this guy's gonna bring him down to half-life. You know the abilities of your units and the enemy's units. So it really is kind of like chess taken to the next level.
That's a good way to put it, I think.
And I'm not even a huge fan of chess or anything, but it works really well when you throw in all the video game bells and whistles, like really good music and like these kind of a pretty compelling story and especially the good characterizations, that brings it all together.
Yeah, I haven't played this one again, but the previous games were all excel in those regards as well. I didn't actually beat Path of Radiance, so I can't say as to how the story resolved, but it definitely had good foundation, and same with Awakening, good characters and good solid gameplay and design of the combat. So I think the series has been pretty consistent over the years in terms of quality, and I think it's pretty cool that it was finally given a chance to come overseas with the Fire Emblem 7, and it's kind of grown in popularity over here over the years, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Awakening is going to be a pretty big step for this series because it had a lot of hype going in, and a lot of newcomers have been playing it. I just wish it was easier to find. I think a lot of people are having trouble finding it.
Is that because it's selling out, or because it was not?
There were not many copies shipped out initially. Some people are theorizing that Nintendo's pushing the eShop version of the game. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I think it would be a little annoying if so. I'm still not completely sold on full digital retail titles from Nintendo right now because the price is the main thing,
Yeah, I think that's actually a very interesting topic because the price of a lot of the console, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft all sell things online. They're trying to push some of the digital distribution, but like you're saying, the price is like pretty much equal to the retail price.
Yeah. It's exactly equal to the retail price.
See, and that's ridiculous.
I agree. You have an intrinsic value in owning a cartridge, and owning the box and everything. You can resell it, you can lend it to a friend, and it's just something that costs more to make. So when you have a digital download of something, I understand it is convenient to have it always on the system, and that's kind of nice. But it takes up space, and it's technically, it's digital. It doesn't really cost them much to. To send that out, It
costs them nothing.
It costs them nothing essentially, and I just think, for me to seriously consider a digital retail game, even something like Animal Crossing, which would be a natural on as a built-in game, it would have to be like 30% cheaper at least or something. All right, let's move on to Comic Talk, where we talk about the comic. All right.
So which comic?
We are talking about Brawl in the Family.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, that's the comic we're talking about. Yeah.
Well, more specifically, I meant which day's comic.
Oh, which days? Oh, okay, all right. We are talking about this week's comics. I haven't actually put up Fridays yet, but you got a super sneak peek at it.
That one.
We're not going to talk about that one first. First, we're going to talk about 467, which is Phantoon has it rough. Yeah, oh, that was good. Yeah, so Phantoon. He is, this is a pretty standard, I guess... Oh wait, I should introduce this section. Okay, yeah, Comic Talk is where I basically talk about my thoughts. What the heck was I thinking when I made this comic? And I guess feedback as well from you, the readers. And I guess you are listeners now. You've been upgraded to listeners. How about that? Okay, so Phantoon has it rough. This it's a pretty standard sort of Brawl in the Family joke where it's like, think about how inconvenient this would be. In this case, Phantoon, he has an eyeball in his mouth. So, there's got to be stuff you could do with that, because that's a pretty standard, super gross alien design, eyeball in the mouth thing. I think some readers mentioned Bellum from Phantom Hourglass, I think, was another guy that had that, and I'm pretty sure half of the monsters in Resident Evil 4 did that as well. It's a pretty common thing. So, this is just basically like, a pseudo-continuation of Lick Your Tongue Has It Rough a little bit, but I think Phantoon might have it worse, considering
that is a really bad place to have an eyeball, and I think your comic exemplifies that pretty well. I honestly don't see a single advantage to having an eyeball in the mouth. Can you think of something?
I'm trying to think of it. I think I'm trying to think of something with kissing, but I am not coming up. I guess if you want to see the inside of the person you're kissing's mouth. Yeah, there we go. That's I don't know how useful that would be, but there we have it.
Wait, so does his eye taste things?
His eye taste things? I think his eye. I think he tastes his eye. I think he's constantly tasting his eye. I don't think his eye can taste. I'm not sure where his tongue is the thing. Maybe it's below his eye.
Where's his esophagus? Like, I don't see... His eye kind of takes up the whole middle area of his mouth. Does the food just kind of gush around the sides of it? So your eye gets all covered in food whenever you eat?
He's got to blend all his food into a fine paste and then insert it with eye drops.
And whenever he swallows, he has to be careful not to swallow his eye.
Yeah, don't swallow your eye. It's a bad idea. All right, yeah, so I think he would ingest food like that, which makes the teeth kind of pointless when you think about it. I mean, what's he going to bite with that? Whatever he bites is going to poke him in the eye. It's a terrible idea.
I would be using straws if I were him.
Good idea. Wait.
Because with a straw, at least it would be a fine paste, and yeah, I mean, you have to be careful not to poke yourself in the eye, but just keep it between your lips and sip it through.
I'm trying to remember how now Phantoon, when he attacks Samus in the game, he never really does anything with that eyeball. He's weak when it's open, basically, but otherwise he just kind of throws fire around, which is probably preferable to trying to bite Samus's head. All right, so that's Phantoon has it rough. All right, let's move on to our next one, 468. It is not on the site yet, so the title might change, but right now I'm just thinking it's tomes or magic tomes. And this idea basically came to me with playing Fire Emblem, of course, which is funny because I haven't done a Fire Emblem comic before Awakening, except for like that one time. And Fire Emblem was sort of the series that I never really got into, so it's fun to finally be able to do these comics. Now, Chris, can you name the first Fire Emblem comic in Brawl in the Family? I'm going to leave a pause on the podcast so I can see if other people can do that. It's Brawl in the Family trivia.
I think actually that was the one I did. Relics number, I forget the number actually.
Oh, that's right. That is Relics. Yep. All right. So this one is 468. This is basically, like it says, I've always wondered, well, not always, I guess, because I just started playing, but I was wondering why tomes are expendable. It seems kind of weird to me. The initial idea with this comic was Muriel would take out a page and light it on fire and then throw it at the enemy, so you have like a set number of pages. Mm-hmm. But I ended up going to just lighting the whole book on fire because, I don't know, it's more over the top, and I really liked her stomping on it.
Yeah, it makes for a lot of good visuals, and each panel kind of raises the stakes from, wait, why would you do that? Whoa, why would you do that?
Yeah, okay, I see.
And all right. I think both of those comics really show, they're a good example of like Brawl and Family's main style of humor is taking something that is not fully explained and showing an alternate explanation that could theoretically like work in canon, I guess.
Okay, I see what you're saying, yeah.
It's kind of like you play around inside the canon with stuff that's not fully explained, and you give your own bizarre explanation for it.
You're right.
And I think
I do that a lot.
You do, don't you?
Oh man, I've become formulaic. That's all you got to do. You think of like, all right. So Mario, he gets a leaf, and that makes him grow a tail. I mean, what happens if he? Wait, I already did this. He jumps into a pile of leaves. Oh man, I was not trying to think of my own comic ideas, but
think of a new one. What about the?
All right. So Kirby. All right, he eats. He turns into what he eats. Okay. So what if he ate a? Wow, I used to be so good at these, and now I can come up with nothing. Oh well. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's very familiar and comfortable ground for me to explore that kind of idea. It's fun to draw that stuff. So there hasn't really been. Yeah, this one's not up yet, so I have no idea what anyone will say, but hopefully they get it.
I think I should reference one more thing in regards to the previous comic 467.
Uh-huh.
There is a Japanese mythical creature called a shirime, which is a creature that has an eye where its butthole is.
I see. Well, I think he might have it most rough of all. Then.
Yeah.
I see a new comic on the horizon. Oh, it seems you have linked me to this glorious creature. I think I will click and not sleep tonight. Let's see.
That's just it's a tame picture. It's just on Wikipedia, but
Wait a minute. How do I click things on this? I cannot
you
find.
might have to copy and can't click it.
Yeah, can you put it in the shoot. I'm clicking on you, but it just brings up the call. Oh wait, I have to scroll down. There it is. Shirime. Oh wow, look at that. Oh man. Yep. So, wow, thank you for that. It's very enlightening. Okay, so that's probably worse than what Phantoon has.
Probably.
And probably still bad if he eats the hot wings.
Well, the funny thing, the other Japanese mythical creature, the what are they called? The kappas.
Yeah.
What they do? They try to steal your soul by putting their hand up your butt. Actually, to take your soul out of your butt. And
Wow.
There was something with them and those creatures where like they didn't know how to get the soul out because there's an eyeball there.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And horrifying. That's really the best entryway to the soul. I mean, I don't know, man. And you know what else? The kappas are like in a ton of Nintendo games too. Well, not a ton, but I'm pretty sure. I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure Bowser's Japanese name Koopa, of course, is basically a play on that.
Oh.
And of course, there's Cap'n from Animal Crossing. He runs the boat in the first game, and then he's in the train, and and he's a kappa. And they like cucumbers is another thing I think that's a common thing. They have a dish of water on their head or something.
Yeah, and there's the kappas from Final Fantasy VI as well.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, the kappas from Final Fantasy VI. They call them imps.
Yeah, and the thing they have those the hat on their head. It's like a bowl of water or something. And if you knock it off, then you can you get to control them. That's the Japanese mythology anyway.
Well, I'm glad Koopa and Cap'n and the kappas from Final Fantasy III don't pull your souls out of your bum. That would be very, very bad for Mario and company, I think.
Yes, I agree.
Oh, on the note of Bowser, did you know he was modeled after an ox?
No.
Yeah, that's the animal that Miyamoto based him off of. I always thought that was kind of a neat little bit of trivia.
I guess he does look ox-like, kind of like an ox turtle.
Yeah, it's sort of that muzzle and those horns.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now it is time to talk about annoying things in the game industry, things that bother us, things that get our goat. In this section called "Why Did They Do That?"
Why did they do that? Why did they do that?
Sometimes we can do stupid things. Every single song about them.
Let's go. Why did they do that? Why? Why did they do things like that?
All right, so today on Why Did They Do That?, we're going to talk about something that's kind of been bothering me, kind of been in the back of my mind for some time, and it's cropped up again recently with the whole Wii U sales being low in January. This is the entire thing of Nintendo is doomed, or Nintendo should go third party. Recently, there was I'm going to butcher this.
Just call him Cliffy B.
Cliffy B! Yes, famous for the Gears of War series.
And he was also involved with Unreal and
okay.
things like that. So
Yes, thank you. Cliffy B was talking about the state of the industry right now and how it's sort of in a decline. And he was worried about, he mentioned that Sony and Microsoft would have to kind of step things up. And he also mentioned that Nintendo, he says, I think Nintendo could possibly be faced with a situation of becoming a company that only makes software moving forward. Now, there's a few things that bother me about this. First of all, Nintendo has been doomed since 1996, okay? This is nothing new. I mean, even further back if you want to count the Virtual Boy. But it's a constant thing. Like, they're doomed because they're doing cartridge. They're doomed because they lost Final Fantasy to the Sony PlayStation. They're doomed because GameCube uses these tiny optical discs instead of the bigger ones. And Zelda's Kitty. Mario Kart Double Dash is 7.9. I don't know if that's really that big of a deal, but yeah, I mean, there was that. There was Mario Sunshine. The GameCube was Kitty. The Wii was casual, and the Wii U's not selling. So Nintendo's going third party. But it's incredibly short-sighted to me because it completely ignores the ridiculous amount of success that Nintendo had last generation with the Wii. Like they sold an insane number of games and systems, and the DS I think is the fastest. No, wait, not fastest. I think the DS recently surpassed the PlayStation 2 as the most sold console, most sold system. Sorry.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and not only that, but the 3DS has surpassed the PlayStation 3 in sales in Japan, which is kind of crazy to me, considering how long each of those has been out. But the bottom line is the 3DS is doing really well. The Wii U, here's the thing. We're in January right after launch. Well, sorry, not January. We're in February right after launch. This is not typically a time where Nintendo systems do well. We're in the middle of a drought. Rayman got delayed for... don't even start on that. Rayman got delayed. And it's a slow month. Granted, sales aren't that great right now for January and February. And yeah, they need to fix that. But I guarantee you, when, Mario Kart and 3D Mario and the other big system sellers that they've already announced, and they'll announce more at E3, when they start coming out, that's when Nintendo systems pick up momentum. It's been that way for the GameCube and the 64. I guess the Wii did pretty well. But I feel that this talk of Nintendo going third party is ridiculous because they have a huge war chest of money, and they haven't been hemorrhaging money from console sales like Sony and Microsoft have. So if anything, they're definitely in the most comfortable position. I don't really know where all this talk is coming from. It's like the Wii U has 2 bad months, and all of a sudden, we're back to the Doom talk.
Well, I think it's very easy to speculate. When a new system comes out and it's in a slow period, you're right that we've seen that for most consoles. Like as soon as they release, there's always some naysayers. Even with like the PS2, you remember when the PS2 came out? It was like a year before any real good games came out for it. And
yeah,
well, I'm trying to remember what the popular speculation was.
For the PlayStation 2,
yeah,
it's a little hard to tell because there wasn't as much internet back then.
Yeah.
I guess that's not really the term, but yeah, it wasn't as big a thing. PlayStation 2 really picked up steam. I mean, it did well at launch, of course, but then it got, it did a lot better once Final Fantasy X and Metal Gear Solid 2 and stuff came out the year after.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really, the only system I can think of offhand besides the NES and the SNES back in the day that did particularly well in their first year was the Wii. The Wii was really coasting on Wii Sports and a pretty strong launch lineup, which basically filled in the gaps until Metroid Prime 3 and Mario Galaxy came out the next year.
Well, one other thing that could be fueling that sort of third-party speculation is, the 3DS kind of had a slow launch as well. Especially until they cut the price. I haven't seen the numbers since then. Has it been selling pretty well, I guess?
The 3DS is doing pretty well in the U.S. It's doing exceptionally well in Japan, though. I think that's kind of the main thing. But yeah, that's another thing. You bring up the 3DS, and that was a situation where I feel like it had a much weaker launch than the Wii U, and it also was having bigger struggles. Nintendo kind of went into full throttle with the damage control there. They lowered the price by $80, and they had the whole $70, and they had the whole ambassador program for people that were early adopters. So pretty much everyone was happy. It was kind of a risky move, when you drop the price that soon after launch, but it ended up paying off for them. And I mean, it bought them some time before the big games came out for that Christmas. Mm-hmm. So I think the 3DS was in actually a much worse situation than the Wii U is in right now. I mean,
I think I'd agree, especially because with the 3DS, you had everyone speculating that the competition for handheld gaming is changing. They're saying, it's all going to be on phones and tablets now. And that the market for an actual dedicated handheld device was going to decline. Mm-hmm. Well, so far, they've seemed to prove that wrong. But you look at the Vita, though, that's done very poorly. And you have to wonder how much room there is left in the handheld gaming market. It seems like Nintendo can hold on to what they've got, which would be great.
It's kind of tricky when it comes to that. I wanted the Vita to do well because I think there should be a dedicated handheld market. You know, I think there should be a separation between that and phone games. But I think what helps Nintendo a lot in this case is definitely the strength of their IPs. You know, I mean, they got Pokemon, and, you know, Mario and Zelda, and that stuff sells consoles. I mean, that
yeah. Now, well, okay, so let's just think about this from a purely hypothetical point of view. Mm-hmm. If Nintendo did go third party, do you think that would be better or worse for their franchises and their games?
I think it would probably be worse, because I feel that Nintendo's the kind of company that designs their hardware and their software kind of simultaneously. I mean, a great example of this is Mario 64. You know, it was really designed around the 64's capabilities and especially its controller. And Wii Sports, you know, is another really good example of that. So I feel like they have stuff in the works for the Wii U that can really only be done on the Wii U. And I think that's important, you know, to know the hardware that intimately, to where you have game ideas for it and things that you want to do with it. I feel like it would be better if they design stuff on their own systems for their games. I mean,
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm just a little bit tired of all this doom and gloom talk. Now that said, I definitely agree that Nintendo needs to do something here. You know, maybe, you know, something probably on the lines of the Ambassador program. Maybe not the exact same thing, but to really push the Wii U, because since we lost Rayman, it's been like, you know, it's been kind of all quiet on the Western Front, I think is the term. Yeah,
when's the next big Wii U game coming out now that Rayman's been delayed?
Well, see, that's another thing. They haven't really announced a Pikmin 3 date. It was supposed to be a launch window, but it looks like it's been pushed back to Q2. I think the next big game, they're saying it's Lego City Undercover, which some people are excited for, but I'm still not really feeling. But there's also Wonderful 101, which is, I think, in 2 months. I think that's in April.
Oh, cool.
And Wonderful 101 looks pretty good. I'd like to know more about it. But Platinum Games is, you know, they're a talented team, and the game looks really stylized and exciting right now. So there's that, and there's Pikmin 3, but it's just this kind of drought right now. So thank goodness for Fire Emblem.
I played a bit of what's it called? Masamura?
Muramasa. Oh, Muramasa, yeah.
Muramasa, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good game. I can see that the gameplay might be a little shallow in the long run, but I think it's pretty stylish. And
yeah, it sure looks nice.
Yeah.
What did you think of Trauma Team?
Oh, it was a great game. I liked that they kind of at least gave a reasonable explanation for the somewhat supernatural elements of the game. Like
they grounded it a little bit more.
Yeah, so it didn't bother me. I thought it might, but it didn't bother me. The gameplay was really good and varied. The characters were really good. I think the characters could have developed a little better, and wrapped it up a little better at the end. But it was a really good game that I'd recommend to anybody.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I really like Trauma Team. I think it kind of slipped under the radar.
Did it sell well?
That I don't really know, but I know that most people got some good enjoyment out of it. I definitely think, outside of maybe some gameplay elements, I think it's overall the best Trauma Center game.
Yeah, I kind of hear what you say there, because I know you really like the straight up surgery elements. That it was a little
and the difficulty that comes with that.
Shorter on that.
Right.
I think it could have used a bit more of that. I don't know. It could have used some mode of the game where it was less story based and more just around surgery. Yeah. So a side mode where it doesn't have a big plot. It's just got more of a straightforward okay, you're a doctor and you're
you're just helping people out. Yeah. Okay, I can see that. I really liked Maria Torres's little missions with the where you have to keep everyone alive.
Yeah.
I would always accept nothing less than keeping everyone alive in those, which is pretty hard on the hard mode.
I want to play the harder difficulty on those specifically. That might have been my favorite gameplay section, actually. Would be Maria's.
Okay, yeah, she was mine, but yeah, solid game all around.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess that might wrap up everything for this first and hopefully not last episode of the Brawl on the Family podcast. Is that a good enough name? Should we name it something else? BitFcast. Nah.
How about
too many consonants in a row.
Fat the podcast.
Oh man, inside joke. Yeah, that was one of the early proposed titles for Brawl in the Family. Fat the comic. Everyone we noticed everyone was very bulbous and fat. There was Kirby and DDD and Meta Knight. And, that was pretty much it actually. Mario.
You just like drawing fat things.
Yeah, I think I do. I think it's more enjoyable. I don't know.
Everything's round.
Everything's round and inviting. Yeah. Curvy.
Yeah.
Curvy comic. Curvy Kirby comic. Yeah. Fat the podcast. All right. Well, that'll do it for us. I'd like to close with one last section called Music Break. This is a section where I will play something for you, actually. In this case, it's going to be Fire Emblem related. And this is just like a little remix that I squeaked out on the keyboard. So hopefully it leaves you feeling pretty happy. And that will do it for the Brawl in the Family podcast. So if you liked what you hear, or if you don't like it, you can leave a message for us in the thread. We're going to be making a thread in comic discussion. It's all about talking about the podcast. So if we were boring or not funny or lame, keep it to yourself. All right, so it's time to wrap it up. So time to say bye-bye, Chris.
Okay, well, goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening, and please continue visiting brawlinthefamily.com and purchasing our wonderful merchandise.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And that is as good a way to go out as any. So farewell, everyone, and happy gaming. Oh, man. gives a new meaning to the term brown eye, huh? Oh, that was terrible. I'm going to edit that out.
Yeah.
I don't feel very good today. I woke up with like a scratchy throat thing.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Are you feeling any better by now?
Nah, not really. I tried to make some home remedies. I looked it up, and they said to gargle with boiled salt water.
Yeah.
So I did that, and it was kind of terrible. And then I ate some garlic, and that was kind of good, actually. But now I smell like garlic, and Sarah doesn't want to talk to me.
I hear if you mix garlic with red wine, that can actually help.
That sounds weird, but okay, I might try that then. Garlic is an herb, you know. But I'm hoping I don't sound too scratchy or anything for the first podcast, you know. I don't want to sound like Patty and Selma for the Welcome to the Brawl in the Family podcast.
I don't think you'd sound that bad.
Okay, all right, that's good.
I mean, they can even sound pretty nice. Sometimes, when they sing together.
Oh yeah, you want to try the duet?
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything.
That's my part. Why are you singing my part, Selma?
Sorry.
Let's try it again.
Anything you can do, I can do better.
I can do anything better than
no,
you.
You can't.
Yes, I
no,
can.
You can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I need a cigarette.
I'm all sweating. I just feel like I just watched an episode of MacGyver.